Hello and welcome to the sixth episode of Daily Cricket presents Cricktalk. I am Mohammad Isam, ESPN Crickinfo's Bangladesh correspondent, and with me is Atif Azam, Crick Buzz's Bangladesh correspondent. Welcome Atif bhai. Welcome back to Dhaka.
Thank you.
Atif bhai, we go straight to the topic. We're just 2 days away from the first Test match between Bangladesh and South Africa. It's a World Test Championship Test match that we're going to cover at the Sher-e-Bangla National Stadium in Mirpur. But there's a lot to talk about. It's not just the test match. There's a lot of exits going on, a new entry coming in, lots of things to talk about. We'll go straight into the test match with Atif bhai. Atif bhai has been covering cricket for such a long time. A test match is a test match. We know the drill, but this is slightly different, isn't it?
I think not slightly. It's different in a big way. A lot of drama has been surrounding this test match. More so, I'll be asking you about that, about Sakib's agenda, but there's a lot of dramas going around because there were a lot of talks. I was in India. There were a lot of talks that Sakib is coming back, and everything was more or less prepared. But I think that you were with me in the Phil Simmons press conference. One thing that he mentioned that I think is very important, that we need to keep the noises away and start focusing on cricket. I think it's a new beginning for Bangladesh altogether, because from now onwards, I don't think that Bangladesh will ever plan with Sakib Al-Hasan around. And with a new coach in place, with Phil Simmons, just want to see how he guides the team. Because from my experience, what I've seen is that when a coach comes in, on normal cases, he doesn't say a lot in the first match or the second match. I mean, in the first series. He just wanted to observe. I think that Simmons will not have that much time to observe the thing, that he'll have to go straight into the drawing board and do the things. As far as the team is concerned, I think this is the best possible test squad that Bangladesh can have. Whether Hassan Murad's inclusion at this point is right or not, if he plays, we can know about it. He got a good domestic record. First class record, he got a good domestic record. But what I feel is that no one can actually replace Sakib Al-Hasan. From this point, I want to tell you that I want to ask you a question. How do you see the whole Sakib drama altogether? That's
a good question, actually. That's all we're talking about at the Sher-e-Bangla National Stadium. Atif bhai, I think it is a lot of emotions adding together, but I think to cut to the practicality of it is that I think the government decided a couple of days ago that it was not possible to bring Shakib back to the picture or to Bangladesh. He was waiting in Dubai, waiting to board the flight to Dhaka. It was that close. He was announced in the test squad. Hanan Sharkar welcomed him, the selector, that they got a green signal from their authorities that Shakib is available for the test match. And we were all pretty sure that Shakib is coming to play his final test match, which he announced in Kanpur before the Kanpur test, I think on 26th of September. So I felt that it was going in one direction. And then I think in the days, a couple of days ago, it started to change. Around Thursday, I think it started to change. There were discussions late on Wednesday night, from what I've gathered, that at the highest level of the government, there was grumblings about whether to bring Shakib or not, or among the student leaders also. And then on Thursday, when we came to Mirpur, I came slightly late. I saw you there. We were covering the protests instead of the proteas inside the ground. That is amazing. I mean, 2-3 days before a test match, we are not even focused about the test match. The journalists were not at all thinking about who was training inside. What we were concerned about was that whether these protests will affect the security understanding of the South African contingent in Bangladesh. Luckily, they probably haven't seen or heard what's going on, or not paid too much attention to it. It was quite innocent. What was happening outside was just spray painting and holding posters and some chants. But the next day, we saw a group of fans of Shakib Al-Hasan and protesting his exclusion from the test team because the BCB had dropped him or made him unavailable on Friday. I think that's where the cricketing part also comes in. Probably Bangladesh had planned something for Shakib in terms of the cricket, because he's going to be one of the 3 spinners or 4 spinners that we're going to play. but they've replaced him with Hassan Murad. And I mean, what a way to get into the team. I think he'll go down in history like a trivia answer. Who replaced Shakib in his last test match?
But Ishan, I just want to add one thing, that when I was in India, in Gwalior, there was also protest going on about the whole India-Bangladesh match. That because of the political situation in Bangladesh, there was a lot of protests and a lot of things. 19 people were, when I wrote up in one of my report, I've stated that there was 20 people who were picked by police. But do you feel that the government really wanted Shakib to end this career? I mean, really from their heart, did they want that Shakib should end this career in Bangladesh, or they were double-minded? Because yes, I agree with them, and probably you'll also agree with them. One of the officials told me that we cannot guard the whole stadium. If someone throws a stone, then we can't help it. And that's a very logical point. But do you think that it could have been handled in a better way, in some way? Because from a cricketer's point of view, a player like Shakib not having the opportunity to end his test career at his own home ground, I think it's quite pathetic. Don't you agree with that?
No, I think a government doesn't have a heart. Can't have a heart. You're talking about government officials who are new to the job. I mean, we know a few people who have never really worked in a government structure, right? So I feel that every situation in Bangladesh right now is fluid, is flexible. You have to give the government, give the authorities a bit of time to understand what's going on. There's a lot of parties, a lot of interested parties who have their opinion, and it is a sort of a unity government as well. So they have to listen to all the parties. They cannot take a decision based on one particular sentiment. Here, the sentiment was the greatest cricketer in Bangladesh wanted to play his last test match. In one sense, I think a guy who's played 71 test matches, one test match doesn't make a difference, especially when he has skipped like 10 tests. I counted yesterday. I think he skipped 10 or 12 test matches just like that, because at that time, Shakib Hassan didn't really rate a lot of test matches. So I think one logic is, okay, he's just not going to play one test match. But I think in a way, the government would have liked for this to be a peaceful situation where Shakib comes, plays, goes, because he's a big name, makes big headlines. I think he's one of the biggest names to come out of Bangladesh.
Even it could have projected the government, the whole government could have projected themselves in a better way in front of the whole world. Because in the international media where we are covering, we are writing that Shakib Al Hasan is not coming due to security reasons. That means that the security in Bangladesh, right?
Look, they placed an argument that if Shakib appears, in Bangladesh, there might be some security concern, which we interpret as, because a test match is a free to entry thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There might be fights in the stands, and then South Africa were convinced to come here. We didn't host Bangladesh couldn't host the Women's T20 World Cup.
We are very skeptical.
And BCB has the BPL coming up as well. So lots of foreigners coming for that. So those skepticism, I think, kept Shakib out. From a cricketing point of view, it's a huge loss. Bangladesh could have given a proper farewell to one cricketer at least. I mean, they are not very great at that. At the same time, I think...
along with that, I just ask you another question.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that with Shakib's retiring from the T20, with Mahmoodullah retiring from the T20, a golden generation of cricketers retired from T20, but none of them got the opportunity to retire from the field? I just want to ask you one question. Apart from Shakib's, others' retirement plan, or say about the whole bunch, did they have a proper retirement plan in their mind? I mean, if you see other teams, they know when they are quitting.
No, not really. I mean, we saw Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli quitting on a grand scale.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, they had, but I'm sure that decision comes quite late as well. Maybe they thought about it, but I mean, look, Atif bhai, the way cricket is right now, one sense you can say, okay, you retire from international cricket, you have franchise cricket to play. At the same time, just look at the amount of cricket that they play now.
Yeah, someone was telling me like that I think that in the coming days, retirement should only be about test. When someone is retiring from test, he should get a farewell, because that's the ultimate of cricket. Because other cricket, they can retire. And if you see, most players who are going into the age of 35, they're retiring from one format or the other to prolong another format. So I don't think that retirement is a big issue. The issue is that whether they really know that when it's their time to say it.
No. None of them do. I think even for, I mean, we've heard stories of so many great players not
Exactly.
retiring at the right time, right? But then this is also you have to talk about the livelihood, but then you have to talk about maybe eyesight. How long can it stay? How long can your body go at the age of 38, 39, 40? These are all objective questions which we answer subjectively in Bangladesh. We don't answer objective questions with objectivity. We don't use rationale, we use our emotions. So I think that's where we have to add a bit of salt to everything, a bit of spice to everything. It has to happen like that. I mean, we still have Mushfiq playing Test cricket. We don't
I
know
just
how.
hope that. I just hope.
Yeah. I mean,
he deserves to
absolutely.
have a grand.
Next year, 20 years in Test cricket.
Yeah.
Unbelievable career. One of the longest Test careers in history of Test cricket. He hasn't reached his 100 Test matches. I really hope he does play 100 Test matches for Bangladesh. Probably he'll be the only one for Bangladesh to play 100 Test matches. The way Test cricket is going for Bangladesh. Adibhai, I think we have covered this part.
Yeah.
We need to get to the second most important big story happening in Bangladesh at the same time of the Shakib drama is the Chandika Hathurasinghe situation. So I'll just lay it out for you and for our viewers and for our listeners. Chandika Hathurasinghe was first. Let me get it correct, because when it was announced, I needed a bit of time to understand what was being said. So Chandika Hathurasinghe was first suspended for 48 hours with a show cause letter to answer to the show cause letter means show us why we shouldn't fire you or sack you. But at that moment, the BCB president said he'll be terminated after 2 days. It's not a problem. That was his attitude. And then 2 days later, Chandika Hathurasinghe was served the papers that you're gone. You're no longer Bangladesh coach. He has replied and he has made some very strong, he had some very strong things to say. I think you met him in Hyderabad.
Yeah, I did.
And there was a very key thing, very key point that you spoke about. Could you tell us about it?
After the last T20, Chandika was supposed to talk with me, supposed to give me an interview, and he called me. He called me, you come over to my place in Hyderabad. I went there, and it was at 11ish. I went there. They were going out, and I was waiting for him, and I waited for 2.5 hours, more than 2 hours. He had a phone call from outside, and he came back. He came back and he said that I don't want to give you an interview now. I said, why? Why you don't want to give me? I was waiting for 2 hours.
This is October 12th, 13th, right?
The day they returned.
13th.
13th October.
Yeah.
I said, why do you want to go? He just told me that I'll talk with you. Someday or the other, I'll talk with you. I promise you I'll talk with you. But I just need to clarify a lot of things. If you sit together and if you ask me questions, then I cannot answer. Because I don't know the answer. I don't know what the board is thinking.
Got it.
So I was quite surprised. You don't know what the board is thinking? No, exactly. I don't know what the board is thinking. I haven't met Faruque after he became the BCB president. Right. I have read somewhere that he's going to, but let me talk with him.
He's going to fire me.
Yeah,
right?
He's not very keen to keep me or things like that. And he said that if you're not very keen to keep me, I'm not very keen to stay also.
But he couldn't tell this to Faruque because they've never met.
They've never met. So his point is that even let us sit together, let us sit across the table, let us talk. If you don't want to keep me, I don't have any intention to stay here. One thing he mentioned very specifically, I'm not here to grab anything. Unlike what you are trying to project me, I'm here to grab everything. I'm not here to grab anything. But he also mentioned another thing that was very crucial, that you just need to see how the dressing room worked in Pakistan during the Pakistan series and in the India series. I did not reply to him that much. I was just listening to him. He was quite unhappy with everything that was going around him. And he was quite unhappy with the backbiting against him. That's one thing that he was not. And for me, Chandika's termination was not a surprise. I don't think you were surprised too. On the first day of the press conference by BCB President Faruque Ahmed, he categorically
made it clear
that Chandika is not staying. Mm-hmm. But the point is that the way Chandika, I have spoken with a lot of players of late. the way we are seeing Chandika's exit and the way some of the players projected are not on the same page. Some of the players are very happy with him. Some of the players, I'm not saying all the players, but some of the players are very happy with him. Some of the players might not be very happy with him. But the thing is that Chandika wanted to sit with Faruque Ahmed. Isham, if you are an employer, and I'm your employee, if you want to throw me out of your office for any reason, you can always give me a letter, but you should also allow me to sit across the table and tell you my side of the story. Because write down in a pen of a paper or in an email and telling that thing is two different things. Because communication, we talked about communication, we know. Did we follow that enough? Because I'm sure you are well aware, and I know that Chandika has told you that he has got all the emails from the BCB regarding his leave. Isn't it? So this leave thing is something that I don't go with. As far as the other incident is concerned with Chandika, when this news came out, you wanted to reach Chandika, you remember? We were talking around. On the phone we were talking around that we cannot write this until there is a statement. Yeah? Two things we need to make clear. One thing is that the player whom we are talking about did not so far tell into any media, quoted into any media, that he was physically assaulted. True. And the second thing is that Chandika's, the letter that he has written, I agree with him that where is the evidence?
Right.
I have gathered this information from several sources that there was an altercation. Some kind of altercation. At the heat of the moment, a lot of things can happen. That is one thing. At that point, Mahmudullah was out. He was going to give some message and all these things. And there were a lot of things. Let me not go deep into that. But the thing is that suppose he had assaulted him. But shouldn't BC president sit with him and ask him why did he assault him? Instead of just writing a letter? Didn't Chandika deserve this, at least this, from the board? Because today Faruque Bhai will always be regarded as he was a very good cricketer. And we all respect him and we all want him to be a great administrator.
He was a great chief selector as well.
Great chief selector as well.
Twice.
But when we will write about him, we will also write that in case of Chandika, his ego played more than his rationality. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Look, let me explain something to you. The day he was appointed was the first day of the test match.
Yeah.
So my joke that day in the press box in Rawalpindi was that the Bangladesh team came under Nazmul Hassan to the stadium and they started to play under Faruque Ahmed in the test match. So he comes, he gives his press conference, and I said,
you were in Pakistan?
I was in Pakistan. So I get the audio from you or someone, a long audio, I remember, 58 minutes.
58 minutes, exactly.
Someone, I think one of our younger colleagues, Zubair, told me, bhai, just go into this minute and second to find that Hathura Singh a bite. And I heard it, and and the answer was, I stick to my previous position, he will be removed. That was his answer in the press conference. So then I asked someone, what was his previous position? He said he gave Noman Mohammad, an interview 2 or 3 days ago. You hear it there. So I went to Facebook, found out.
And you mentioned in your story.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point here is that when I send my story when it was published in Cricktalk, my colleagues, my international colleagues, their first understanding of Faruque Ahmed was, oh my God, this man just came into power. Your team is playing a test match. And you just said that I want to get rid of the coach. Like, why is he doing that? So maybe for Faruque Ahmed, it was a big deal to, strike down Hathura Singh at the first chance. But it sent a very wrong signal about him to the rest of the world. Look, Bangladesh Cricket Board. Yeah.
Even my colleagues are saying that didn't have a fight with Chandika when he was chief secretary. Exactly.
That's your colleagues remembered it, right?
Yeah.
My colleagues, people I knew, they did not remember that because it was 8 years ago, right? So they don't remember it. I had to explain, and in my piece I also explained. Look, first thing you do as Bangladesh's first former captain to become a board president. How many board presidents we've had? I think we've had 16 or 17. We've had, I think I wrote it at the time, ministers, army generals, businessmen, all sorts. And we have finally had a first former. And what is our expectation? When you have a former captain of Bangladesh become a board president, your expectation goes sky high straight away.
Exactly.
So finally, just what I wanted to say was, so if he becomes the board president, two things he's done. He has sacked Chandrika Hathurasinghe with a bit of unprofessionalism in the whole thing. Okay, he said, I told my CEO to do it. Perfectly okay. But when you have addressed the fact that you've had a problem with him, there's a lot of complicated issues here, sit with him. I'm sure when Phil Simmons is going to work, Faruque Ahmed will speak to him. Secondly, our Bangladesh's biggest star has retired. From what I've known, Faruque Ahmed wasn't going to be around even if Shakib was playing this test match, firstly. Secondly, I think when Shakib announced his retirement in Kanpur, same evening there was a press conference in Mirpur where Faruque Ahmed said, we cannot guarantee security. I thought kind of careless of Faruque Ahmed to say that because, yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have known about the security situation. But that statement alone tells you that it was quite easy to understand what his plans were about Shakib as well. So you've had one coach sacked in a very complicated way, which again, I thought the suspension wasn't necessary. Sack him and then suspend, or tell us this is why he got sacked. Number one. Number two, Shakib's retirement wasn't handled that well, or the reaction of the BCB wasn't handled that well. When Faruque Ahmed or anyone who has not been in the BCB for so long has always gone on to these talk shows and said, BCB is not professional, they don't handle it professionally, they shouldn't have hired Hatu, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. The moment you come to power, well, you're doing the same thing.
And the next question, just to add to your question, is that you are bringing in a coach for 6 months, 5 months. You know cricket, I know cricket. What kind of plan will you have? Can you tell us about this? If you have a long-term plan, then you should bring about 2.5 years.
Just to
T20 World Cup.
Just to finish, Atif bhai, just one thought I had. Would it hurt Hathurasinghe's sort of? I mean, who will lose the most? Would it be Hathurasinghe or Faruque Ahmed from this exit? What do you reckon?
I think Bangladesh cricket.
Okay.
I think I might, not today, but I might, someday we might have to write who's next in Faruque's line.
Who's next in his Faruque's line? It's a good line, actually. Wow.
Because, and to me, it appears that one man I see is David Moore.
Because he's a... Yeah.
He got the connections. So
yep.
If he is not here, I'll not be surprised. If he said, but if you see all the programs and all the things that he's running today, he has done a fantastic job. But if he is not in the Faruque's.
You think, is that the right culture, Atif bhai? Is that the right culture? I mean, you've
no,
come
because he's a friend of Chandrika. Chandrika insisted board to bring him.
As in, is this? I'll fire anyone who's related to Hatu. I mean, let's use him. Let's use him for whatever long we have in the contract. You're going to hire someone in his place. You're going to have to pay that person the same thing. That second person who comes, like Phil Simmons, with all due respect, and I'll get to him, but he comes in, I think he has got 2 test matches, 4 test matches, 3
ODIs,
some ODIs.
6 ODIs and 6 T20s. 3 T20s before the Champions Trophy.
Yeah, kind of hard for him. We'll get to that. But whatever David Moore has done, the next person has to start from zero.
Exactly.
It's not a great culture, is it?
No, isn't it? Because even in the board, some of the board directors who have left the board, Faruque Ahmed has categorically told them that I cannot keep them. Because I think that if you are capable, you are capable. Irrespective of whether I'm related with you or not, if you're capable, you're capable. If you're not capable, you're not capable. Like, I am very happy to see, I was very happy to see that Bangladesh team going to Australia to play a series. You remember? The
HP team.
HP team. Yeah. That's a good move. Let's appreciate that.
First time,
but that's a good move. But that move was actually being totally Moore worked behind it. With all his connections.
Of course.
He has got a lot of other plans.
Also, the Bangladesh A tour of Pakistan. That was
Exactly.
a good call. Yeah.
Good call. And the Bangladesh Tigers program.
Yeah.
He's also putting his. It was Chandika, Moore, and all the coaches that had a very big meeting. That they want to have aligned the total system into one system.
Right.
Now Chandika is gone. Now, if you want to have the total alignment in place, then you need to have that vision. Moon knows what Chandika's vision is. I'm not saying that Chandika's vision is the end of it. There will be other visions, but if someone is just not on the board because he was having a relationship with Chandika, then I think that will only prove that he could not be, he just could not get out of his ego.
Yeah.
And I just hope that Faruque bhai, from this point of time, the next decision that he'll take, because he has said that he had to stand on his, he had to sack it, Hadra Singh. But going forward, he need to understand that what that man is bringing to the board.
Yeah.
Like he said, you remember, he said that there were no Gamini around. We are seeing Gamini preparing the wicket. Then why the hell did he say that?
Yeah.
Remember? He said, publicly he said that there will be no Gamini around. But today I was seeing Gamini preparing the wicket, and the man who was appointed in place of Gamini, Khokon Bhai, Buzalam Khokon, he has been transferred to Purvachal.
Right.
So if you can't execute your own plan, then why are you announcing those things?
There's a lack of communication, I think. Also.
Lack of communications.
Within the cricket board.
Within the cricket board. And going forward, I think that Chandika's exit should also be a lesson to everyone that no matter what, the board is the ultimate call maker. So you need to also give proper respect to the board.
Adib, just to finally add my 2 cents on Chandika's second term, which didn't end well. But I thought that as much as he was criticized for his attitude in the first term, for being hot-headed and stuff like that, I think he came with a mission in Bangladesh this time. I think the mission was to put it mildly, to set a new course without the senior players. But the way he did it wasn't great. The way the cricket board and him, they all...
And he must be regretting that he had taken up a fight with someone who was really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, not just that. I mean, not just taking up fights, but I think the whole fight at that time. Just think about Bangladesh's reality till August the 4th. Even for Chandika Hadra Singh, how different it was. He had the board president in his favor. He had the board in his favor. And then it changed. So, I mean, in a way, I think this was forthcoming without Faruque Ahmed saying it. But having said it on the first day, then keeping on saying it, doing a lot of press conference on it, that really didn't go
well. That didn't go well. That is it. You have now the last part of the game.
Yeah.
We just had the opportunity to attend the first press conference of Phil Simmons.
Yeah.
As the Bangladesh head coach. Can you sum up the show today with the Simmons? What are you expecting from Simmons? And what are the major areas that he should be focusing in the coming days?
Such a short time for a coach. I'm sure he would know better than us what he's facing. But I think for someone like him, who has, I think, been coach since 2004, from what I've understood, from what I've found out, Zimbabwe, Ireland, West Indies, Afghanistan. These are his four main. I think he's Karachi Kings head coach. He has a team in MLC and Global T20. I think, from what I've figured out. Vastly experienced coach, one of the best coaches in world cricket. He's won.
And just to add, he's known as the players coach.
He's known, of course.
Yeah, I mean, he always...
No, of course, players coach, backs the players. He fights for the players. A very unique choice for Bangladesh. Bangladesh Cricket Board, till Hadra Singh, have looked for a coach who was a disciplinarian, who would listen, who would be a headmaster, right? My experience of covering Phil Simmons is short but quite interesting. I saw him. I'm sure you're there too. He walked into BCB December 5th, 2017. He was going to be the replacement of Chandika Hadra Singh at that time. One of the most striking things I heard that day was, I asked the board director, why aren't you going to... And he came out of that meeting, of that interview, and spoke to some of us off the record at that time. I shouldn't be saying it, but these are cathartic words. You remembered them for you all your life. Like I've heard hundreds of things in my life, but this I can't forget. Phil Simmons came, one of the best coaches in the world. He came for an interview. That was his fault. You know, the board director came out and said, "Look, he's come here to give us an interview. What has become of him?" As in, he's so poor. You know, he's come to Bangladesh to come to the BCB. We're not going to take him. Something must be wrong with him. I think by the end of that month, he became Afghanistan's coach. He has held a job for those 7 years. Bangladesh has had to change coaches 4 times, and the mess. Today, one of our senior journalists, Arifur Rahman Babu, he was telling me that was the biggest mistake. If he was employed at that time, Phil Simmons, say he stays for 4 years, you have a smoother transition for these senior players. The younger players come in. We know how he operates. He's a brilliant coach.
There's no doubt about that.
And I think if he leaves after 5 months, whichever way he leaves, it'll be a huge loss for Bangladesh to keep him just for 5 months. Bangladesh is crying out for someone like Phil Simmons, a development coach, a friendly coach, someone who understands the language. I think before we were in the press box just now, I was looking for a stat, how many matches he's coached against Bangladesh. I think it's close to the 50s. I'll tell you later. I'll have to find out through Stats Guru. But I think he's coached 50 matches against Bangladesh. So he knows. Remember the Kyle Myers series, right?
Exactly.
He was
that match.
He was the head coach. So experience-wise, from what I've understood, his philosophy is also great. Players have responded brilliantly in some of the best teams or some of the most developing teams in the world. You covered Afghanistan, of course, for Crickbuzz. You would know.
And he has literally changed Afghanistan batting.
Right.
Because he has shown them that it's just not
all you have to do, Atif
temperament.
Bhai,
He just changed the temperament. So
all you have to do, Atif Bhai, is just go through the records of these teams. West Indies, world champion. Afghanistan, upward swing. Ireland, for 8 years, World Cups and everything, right? So you have, again, by luck or maybe a great connection that he has in Bangladesh, I kind of know, he's here. Now, whether they'll be able to...
I just wanted to say that his termination or his agreement should not be based upon the results of Champions Trophy or his performance for the next 6 months. I think we should think beyond that. I mean, if you think that we are going to terminate him, we will keep him or not, we'll decide after seeing how he performs, then we're making a mistake. If we want, there's a question that one of our journalists often asks these days, that we are always becoming a developing country. You know, and he's been asking this question for a long time.
And he makes sense. That's a great question.
That's a great question. But if we want to get out of the
development... Shout out to Sikandar Bhai for that question.
Exactly. Sikandar.
Go on, yeah.
But if we really want to get this tag out of our system, then we need someone like Simmons and at least for 4 years.
On that note, we conclude today's show. Our podcast is in its 6th episode. The test match is from Monday, and we hope to come to you shortly after the test match with a review of the test match and looking for the Chattogram test match starting later in the month. From us, Atif Azam and Mohammad Isam, it's goodbye from Daily Cricket presents Cricktalk.